Protesting is a form of public expression where individuals or groups voice their grievances, demands, or objections against specific issues, policies, or institutions. The history of protesting is deeply rooted in human civilization and has played a significant role in advocating for social, political, and cultural changes throughout the ages.
We are here, number one, because of shunning. When you look around at these signs, be free, silent no more.
So let's be the voice for the children. Let's speak out. Let's share our stories.
You all don't recognize, or perhaps you do, how amazing you all look. And because of the stand that we have taken to walk away from the harmful practices of the Watchtower, you really are the bravest people.
And this is a good turnout. This looks like it may be the largest protest in the history of the Watchtower for ex-witnesses.
Shunning is inhumane! Shunning is inhumane!
Hey, this is JT.
And this is Lady Cee. And we have Ivy here with us today. And we're back again, y'all, with the protest information. And so we're so excited to have Ivy here with us to talk about the upcoming protest, which is about, 7 weeks away now, Ivy?
I think we're hitting that 6-week mark.
All right.
All right.
So y'all ready?
I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I've been working with the head of the protests, trying to get everything situated, making sure we get the registrations and stuff done. So I'm really, really excited. Last year was a huge moment to be a part of that first protest and to be able to be invited back and to help just make people feel more comfortable with their stories, help them heal, and let them know that we're all in this together. It's a really amazing experience.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to have you back on to share with all our listeners what's going on, what's happening, and what they can do for those who like to participate. And we want to provide as much information. As we mentioned, activism takes many different shapes, forms, and fashions. And this right here, we believe, is an interesting way to help people better understand this issue when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses. Because most people have such a limited knowledge of witnesses. And this, as we often say, raises the awareness. Well, Ivy, let me just ask you a couple of questions. As you look back over the last year, what have you seen that just shows that the awareness of Jehovah's Witnesses is so important today?
Well, in my personal experience from the last year, just talking about it with everyday people, they're completely lost. Like, they have no purview into the inner workings of Jehovah's Witnesses. All they know is no blood transfusions. You don't fight for the war. You don't celebrate any of the holidays. Do you believe in Jesus? They have those general questions. Oh, and we knock, there's the knocking on the doors. But fully understanding some of the private processes or policies that go on, they didn't. Often people will say, I didn't know that. Especially like with the pants. What? I didn't know that. Or with the beards. Wait, I didn't know that. So it's all those little things that I feel need to be brought to people's attention, not only for awareness. It helps with sensitivity for topics as well. But then it also allows those of us who are a part of the organization to have that external support. Because let's face it, politically, 9 times out of 10, most of us are flying blind. We didn't get involved in politics. We didn't vote. So therefore, we don't know the legislation. We don't know the laws or how the rules work to make our situation better or to make it better for those who already were shunned or disassociated, or whatever the phrases you want to use. So we need that allyship for sure. And we also encourage for those of us who are new to that political space, just research and do as much education as you can, because legislature starts within your own county and within your own city. Then it goes to your state. Then it goes to the governmental level. So there's a lot of work to be done. And we're just happy that this protest can be one of those pegs to get the job done.
Excellent. Really good. Now, I know that you had sent us some information that you wanted to share. Can you help our audience to see what information that you have and how effectively we want to try to use this information to make people more aware, how we can allow more people in the public to come to know about exactly what we're talking about. Because each person can have a share in this themselves, and it can make an impact.
So the first thing I think that will be beneficial for us to share today is actually the website that will explain a little bit more about the protest, and it also gives people the opportunity to register. If there's apprehension or fear for registration, if you could just please put that aside. If you have a pseudonym, a stage name, any other, way for you to actually register because you want to participate, it is critical. We live in a very data-driven society. And so without the numbers to show that there are people who are hurting, people who have been hurt, to show that there is the necessity for policy change, we need numbers. So this is the website that everyone can go to be able to register and read more about what's happening. If you scroll down to the bottom, that's where you can see the registration link to say, hey, how can you get involved? What else do you want to do?
Here we are on the Be Free Protest website. And so it's befreeprotest.com. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you're going to notice all the information that's pertaining to this upcoming protest. And you can also, if you're planning to attend, you can fill out the survey. So if I click on this link here, planning to attend, fill out our survey, then it's going to take you to this form. And here on the form, there's certain items that's required, which is your email, and then you can actually go in here and fill out all the other information. Now, notice where it says required. That's where all the information that you must fill out in order to submit the form. So you could just go ahead and read through that. You might not be able to see it on the screen based on the fact that, you may have be looking at this from an iPhone or another smartphone. But anyway, this is where you would go to fill out that survey to submit this form.
I know last year we probably had about 225 people show up for the protest. It would be phenomenal if we can double those numbers this year. Volunteerism obviously is going to be necessary. There's a lot of moving parts with the protest. If anyone has a company that they work for that supports activism or human rights that would potentially consider this movement for sponsorship, that also is another opportunity that some people have to help, even if they can't attend or if they're still in that space where they want to stay private. We need professionals who are already in this space advocating for people's human rights. We need people who are in the political space. Maybe they have like a voter registration locally and things like that. They're going to want to hear about this. We all go to the doctors of some sort, right? So those medical professionals who they've treated all of us, in some way or some fashion, especially if you're in therapy, psychology, psychiatrists, personal life coaches, things of that. We need those type of allies to help us support our right to have freedom of religion and then to not have to be punished as a result of exercising that right.
Yeah, people in different places all the time. Interestingly, we had an experience, Lady Cee, I don't know if you would like, I think you had mentioned before, the experience we had when we was in a car accident, when we went to the hospital, how the medical community, they are very familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses. And interestingly, they often see two sides of witnesses when they're in the hospital, the side when other witnesses are around them and the side when all of the witnesses have gone home. So people have human rights, they have freedom, they can make decisions. It's kind of ironic because the Watchtower made the statement that no person should have to choose between his religion and his family. It's kind of ironic coming from them. It really is when they make a statement like that.
Now, for the protest, I know we've been getting some emails from individuals asking us details about it. How many days are people planning to stay in town? Are they going to get together for like a little meetups and stuff like that?
The protest is one day, which is Friday, September the 13th. And for those who aren't aware, we chose that month because it's Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. And a lot of people are hurting as a result of having loved ones and friends who have committed suicide from being shunned by the congregation. So we definitely wanted to highlight that as an issue simply because that medical community and those statistics nationwide, we're a part of those statistics. We're a part of those numbers when we lose someone as a result of being shunned. So this month, that day is really important. The protest will start at 10 a.m. that Friday, September the 13th, and it will go to about 2 p.m. We'll have a line of speakers. Of course, it's right in front of the White House, so that's like the max security that you can get. And as far as plans for afterwards, we did something last year. We met up at a restaurant that had like music and food.
Busboys and Poets.
Yeah, we went to Busboys and Poets. So that was really nice. This year so far, there hasn't been any formalized event in terms of recreation or like hanging out and getting together before or after. But I know like last year that was really cool to do because we had people here from all over the states and also from out of the country. There was people there from Canada. We had several people from New England. We had the West Coast represented with Washington State, Colorado. We also had Texas. Of course, I'm down here in Florida, the local people. And then there were even a lady I met. She was from England and she had come over and she used it as a holiday. So I thought that was really nice and really important because we're used to taking time off for larger events like that, right? 3-day conventions. And so, you know, we want people to look at this the same way. If this is something that you're passionate about and you really want to move the meter for change, if you can possibly use it as a vacation, that will be great. There's tons of tourist things to do in Washington, D.C., lots of activities. It's a really bustling, thriving place when it comes to arts and culture. So no doubt we'll all probably get together and do something at some point, whether it's that day before, after the protest, or even with anyone who wants to stay in town.
Excellent. I know because a lot of people, like you say, they're making this part of their vacation. And, you know, this is during the time that we're kind of still experiencing a little bit of our summer. I mean, our Indian summer doesn't come until October, but in September, we're still experiencing, you know, summer here in DC.
Some pretty good weather.
Yeah. Huh?
For this year than it was last year. So for everybody last year, you know, it was kind of nippy, but this year should be a lot more comfortable in terms of the temperatures.
Okay. Now, this is the homepage, right? So this is the website. And now that leads us to those 2 links.
Yes.
Okay.
We know, like we said before, that not a lot of people understand or even know the inner workings of the congregation witnesses. And so I had an opportunity to kind of reach out to one of the head publishers of a national investigative journal, which is called ProPublica. So that link that is going to be shared next, or that site is going to be shared next, is definitely going to be beneficial for people, whether you're going or not. It's also beneficial for people who have relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses, and they may be, you know, have experienced and witnessed some of the mistreatment from shunning. If they were affected because they had a loved one who was sexually abused. Like there's so many situations that a non-witness, especially a family member or someone in close proximity, they also could have experienced that created division, trauma, and things of that nature. So ProPublica is a nonprofit journalist site that you can go to, and they gave us the link to be able to report a tip. So if you scroll down, you can put in some very brief information about yourself, what it is that you're contacting them for. And the publisher informed me that the more people submit their entries, the more the paper is going to investigate. They are specifically for investigation of topics and situations. And when I reached out to them and I asked them if they were familiar with anything that was happening with Jehovah's Witnesses, he went back and searched their archives. And he was like, yeah, we haven't really covered anything. So what I did for him is I shared him the links actually to this channel. And I shared another link to another one. And he was like, wow, this is good stuff. Here's this link. Tell your people to start filling it out and sharing their stories. So the more entries that they get, again, numbers, data, they'll start to dig into not just us as individuals, but into the Watchtower as a total, like as an entity or corporation. So this, I could not have advocated for it more or asked for anything more, but I felt like this was a very good starting point to get news coverage, right? To get a nationally published investigative journalism out with the story about Jehovah's Witnesses or about the protests. ProPublica actually is based in DC. So it's very possible if we can hit them up enough that they may actually have a journalist on site to maybe do interviews on the spot to cover the story live, right? We need the world to know what's going on here in the United States. We need it everywhere, just like in other places. And it's going to be really good for people to fill that out and share.
Let me ask you something, Ivy. So here we are at this form for ProPublica. Now it's got 4 check boxes. Is it going to make a big difference if we all check the same box?
No, it's not going to make a difference. But I believe if you scroll down, there should is there a section for a brief comment? Keep going, because there's several check boxes and options. Keep going. Okay, so they don't have a detailed description, but you want to just look in here and see. Can you read some of those options for us?
Yeah, so it's got, the first one says, tell you about an abuse of power or injustice harming me or someone I know. That's number 1.
Yeah.
The other one is like, share information about my employer or another organization I'm part of. It sounds like it's either going to be 1 or 2.
That's right. It's going to be 1 or 2. Those would be the options.
Okay. Yeah, we know organizations today, especially news-based organizations, they're always looking for stories. They're always looking for something to dig into. That's what they do. That's the nature of their business. And the subject of Jehovah's Witnesses is one that for many people can be very enlightening. And we've seen those shows on television already, and we know that it has a great interest because everybody, for the most part, knows someone who is or have been involved with the Jehovah's Witness. There are very few people, family, coworkers, neighbors who don't know Jehovah's Witnesses. And for them to find out that there are basically 2 sides to the Jehovah's Witnesses, that is very enlightening. Now, there was another link that you also provided us as well. Could you share with us the role that this other link serves as well?
If you are a nonprofit organization within the United States, we know that there are certain rules and certain laws that you must abide by. One of the things that most people will question, and I remember when I was active in the congregation, my question would be, how is it that we're in a deficit at lunch on a Friday of an assembly or a convention? How is it that, we're moving funds in the congregation with the accounts reports? I remember there used to be 3 brackets that we can donate to, and the donations were all cut up. And then I remember the time where they were consolidated and you just had one, donation, and then they would decide where it went and how it was used, right? So it's not like a regular member as myself has had a lot of insight as to the funds and the money and the donations, right? So this site is regular IRS government site is there, where if you have knowledge and you have proof that there is some questionable things happening with the money, with the donations, you should be the person filling out this form on this site. I believe you can click it and fill it out in a PDF. I think there's instructions for how to mail it. But this is where that can prompt that level of government to say, why do we keep getting these reports? Why do we have these submissions about questionable donations or questionable disbursements of funds as it pertains to this one particular nonprofit, right? So again, a lot of people want that as a part of it to have more insight as to the donated funds, right? Because we talked earlier about how they have very cleverly opened up a lot of corporations and a lot of incorporations like Incs and Corps. Because when you start a nonprofit, you can't do so without having a corporation or, have it incorporated. So, again, knowledge that you may not have had as a servant of Jehovah or in the Christian congregation, because we don't look into that stuff, right? We're not really encouraged to explore, because that's also legal, that's political. Like, these are all things that are set up in this system for how things are supposed to work. So this is the form that an individual would submit if they actually have firsthand knowledge or experience with the funds handling, like there being some questionable activities with how the money is being shuffled and juggled around. And I would say, even if you're overseas right now, if you happen to be in the U.S. and you have knowledge and you got some information, it doesn't matter. Submit the form for the specific entity that it belongs to, the United States, and they can then start gathering their information and look into it, because who knows what's there actually, simply because we know the real estate portfolio is vast. I mean, I personally look at it and I'm like, wow, I think that's multi-million dollars of real estate, that they have. But when I needed food assistance or to help pay my electricity bills, I had to go to First Methodist. So
Isn't that sad? Now,
yeah,
I think this is really
Very
good
sad.
information because this is news to me. I didn't even know this form was out here. So I think that, it's really good information to have. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on our program and sharing this information with our audience. This is awesome. Yeah.
One last thing we're trying to do like a bit of a letter campaign.
Mhm.
We're going to have some templates, just 2 templates that everybody can copy and paste. We're also going to provide some main journalist emails, so that way you can send those templates or that email directly to those journalists. We'll all use one unified subject line, because I don't know about you, when I get emails and I see it's from the same or corporation or same thing, I'm like, all right, let me check this out. They must really want to get my attention.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, Miss Ivy, you have done such a wonderful job explaining all this information. And is there a place where anyone can reach you, or are you just going to just be sending people to the website?
Yeah.
The website is what?
BeFreeProtest.com. Like to be free. So BeFreeProtest.com.
Okay, so are there any other comments that you'd like to make about the protest?
I will say it doesn't come without a cost. Being involved, speaking out, sharing your story, speaking your truth. It for a lot of us, it doesn't come without a cost, right? So it takes courage, but we have the support, and we just are trying to make a difference so that people cannot hurt as much over something that doesn't make any sense.
That's so true. That is so true. Well, we thank you for sharing this information with us, and we'll put it out and let people be able to have this information they can grab and run with it. We see the changes that are taking place in the organization. Many of them are moving at lightning speed, and unfortunately, it's oftentimes a result of pressure that it takes to be applied. It's not because they're volunteering to do this because this is the right thing to do, until they're forced to do many things. And we've seen it around the world. That's the only time the Watchtower will oftentimes make changes for people. And so bringing people better awareness of this religion before they get in, bringing people awareness of those who are already in so that they can now know, makes all the difference in the world, Because when we was coming along, we didn't know anything about these events that were taking place in the back room. We just didn't know about it. So, Ms. Ivy, we certainly appreciate you coming on to the channel and sharing this information with us. And we hope that for those who are able to hear this, they'll have all the tools that they need to be able to support this protest as well. As always, we appreciate everyone in our audience for coming on board, and we hope that this is a very successful protest. Once again, the purpose is to raise awareness and provide relief for people who have for decades had to suffer under what we have seen from this organization. This has been JT.
And this has been Lady Cee.
And Ivy.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all at the protest.
Take care.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.